kissing on her and rubbing her clit and just like trying to please her. And then his phone starts to ring and they even kissed. And she didn't want to kiss him, but it was like, then she kissed him. Oh my gosh. But it was amazing. And she hated herself for it because she's like, oh my gosh. So luckily his phone was ringing and he was like, he had to go because I guess there was some pressing things going on with the company. And he was like, we're not finished. And she's like, no, I gave you your 2 minutes. No, we're even. That's it. And he's like, no. He's like, all that time you denied me, I'm throwing on interest. I'm like, oh my gosh. You can just never win with this man. Like, he will find any and every stipulation to get you. And so he leaves. She, wraps herself in whatever, goes upstairs. And so when she gets upstairs, she sees Vance leaving out of Alice's room. And so Vance is like, oh, yeah, I was just helping Alice with something. And she was just like, whatever, because she had her own stuff to worry about. And so Vance says, you guys must have had some type of fight. And she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, he showed her Royce's room. Room was completely destroyed. He was pissed. And so he had left after that. So Royce wasn't there. And she was like, oh my gosh. And he was like, well, he does that sometimes. He gets upset and he makes mistakes, but don't give up on him, basically. And she was like, he's not the one that messed up. I did. And Vance is like, no, you didn't. It wasn't you. It was him. I know. And so then she says, oh, by the way, your shirt's, inside out. And he just looked like, oh, hell. So he leaves, and that night, he was gone late. Like, Royce didn't come back until, like, late. And he tells her that actually it was the next morning when Maris saw him. I'm sorry, it was the next morning. And Maris goes to Royce and she tells him, I'm leaving. She's like, I'm all tapped out. I don't have any more to give. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. These games with this family is just too much for me. And Royce is like, I'm so sorry. He's apologizing. She's like, why are you apologizing to me? She's like, it was my fault. I shouldn't have took that bet. And then, he was like, I wasn't mad at you. He was like, I was mad at myself. He was like, that's why I destroyed the room. He was like, because I thought I had done it. I thought I had gotten enough that I could get you back, and it wasn't enough, and I failed you. And so she was like, this is just too much for me, and I just can't do it. And Royce tells her that this is just, there's no quitting him. I've been trying my whole life to. You can't get away from him. Like, if you leave, he is going to take everything away from your family. The very little they have, he's going to take it. Like, you can't leave. And I think that was a plea too, yes, because that is what his father was going to do, but also because he didn't want her to go, and he needed her there too. And so she had made up her mind, though. Like, she was just tired of this. She didn't want to do it no more. So that evening at the chess game with McAllister, she tells him she quits. And she's like, I can't do it. And he, of course, flies into he's upset. He's like, no, you can't quit. What do you mean you quit? She's like, I quit. I'm not doing this anymore. This is too much. This is too much for me. And I just can't do it anymore. So she was trying to appeal to that obsessed side that he has for her. And it actually worked, because McAllister agreed. He's like, what if we just do once a week? What if you just have to play me chess once a week? Would that be good enough? And she's like, okay, deal. And so she said, but tonight is the once a week. Not making it another one. This is it. So they do that, and then a couple days later, that very masquerade ball that they had planned for, it's time for that. for the anniversary party. And of course, she has her beautiful green gown, which is the one that we see for the cover, because she's Medusa. So she has a beautiful mask that Royce got for her. Um, and she's so excited she wants to put on this dress so bad. But Alice is like, nope, you can't. Not yet. You're going to wrinkle it. You're going to mess it up. You can't put it on yet. So then McAllister comes in the room and he, tells Maris he needs to talk to her. And she's like, okay. So she has on her robe. But of course, she closes it up. She goes in the room with them. And they go to the library. And he lets her know he has a gift for her. And it's a chess set, but it's made with the Greek mythology characters. So Medusa, Zeus, Hera, Ares, all of those. So she was like, oh my God, it's beautiful. And he was like, you think, let's play a quick round. So she plays. And he must have, for a moment, he slipped because, he's an excellent chess player. Like, he played competitively in college. So he's an extremely good like a great chess player. But unfortunately, there were some issues going on at the bank the last few days. And I think it threw him off a little bit. And she won. She checkmate. And he was like, he exploded. He was like, no, you didn't win. Because, of course, the deal was once she wins, then they don't play anymore. But that was his only time with her. And so he wasn't ready to let that go. Because, again, you got to remember, he's trying to make her fall for him. So if you take that time away, that kills his plan. So he flew into a rage. He said, that doesn't count. We're going to play again. She's like, no, that was not the deal. And he's like, no, you don't understand. No, this isn't over. And he grabs her and kisses her. And she's like, it was crazy because it wasn't a bad kiss. It actually was a great kiss. And he let her go, and he was like, I'm sorry. I was just upset, and I know I handled that poorly. And he was still holding her, and she was like, just let me go. And he was like, I will in a moment. He was like, I don't know what it is. I've tried to get rid of you from my system, Maris. I just don't know. He's like, I told myself I couldn't want you because you don't exist. He was like, but that was clear, that just wasn't true. He's like, it's like, I just can't get enough of you. And he was just going a little crazy at that moment. And she tells him, I'm in love with Royce. And he goes, I don't believe you. He's like, you're too smart to do something that stupid. He was like, no, you're lying to me. And she's like, no, I'm not. That's what I feel. Like, I love him. McAllister's like, if you did love him, you wouldn't have done what you did with me in that maze. And she says, I had to. You left me no choice. I had to save him. And so McAllister's like, okay, cool. You want to save him? Do it again. This time, come to my room tonight. Submit to me completely. And he can keep his seat. And he's like, and I'll show you I'm a better version of him in every way. And she was like, no. And he's like, no, if you do that, once that's done, you're free. And she was like, I'll just leave. I'm not doing it. And he's like, where you gonna go? She was like, and do you think he'd give up everything for you like you've done for him? He wouldn't do that for you. And it hit her, and a tear spilled down her face, because she knew Royce wouldn't, and he had told her that on their first date, that he told her as much as so, no, I'm not gonna do that. And he was letting her know it doesn't have to be a complicated situation. If you just say yes, I will satisfy you in ways that he can't. And he grabbed her again, and the door opens up, and it is Alice. And Alice is so like, you know, she's used to having to detach herself. And so she just detached herself at that moment, and she's like, hey, oh my gosh, your lipstick's messed up. We've got to get you out of here and get you cleaned up. She didn't even react to the fact that she was walking in on her husband with someone else, even though she's got her own little affair going on. But she didn't even react to it. And so she's sitting there, and, Maris feels awful. She's like, I'm sorry. It's not what you think. And she's like, it doesn't matter. I know he likes you, and he likes the chase. And the fact that you don't want him just makes him want you more. I know. He used to be that way with me, too. And so she gets kind of a little insight into Alice, and why Alice is kind of detached at this point. And so they go down to, she gets ready. They go down to the ball. And she's dressed as Medusa, of course. And of course, McAllister is dressed as the Minotaur. And that's so befitting, being that that's what he was when he caught her in the maze. And I'm like, that man is just full of sick, twisted jokes. But at the party, Royce and Maris, they do declare their love for each other. And she's like, you're not lying to me, are you? And he's like, no, I love you. Like, he really does love her, and she really does love him. And then after they've declared their love for each other, McAllister walks up, and he tells them, he's like, Maris, can I have a dance? And Royce is like, no, you cannot. And Maris says, no, thank you, I'm fine. And he was like, well, I need to talk to you about some business anyway. And he's like, talk to me about what? He's like, I'm thinking about acquiring a new business and another company. And he's like, why would you do that? And the shareholders wouldn't be okay with that, with, what the situation is with the company right now. And he says, I'm thinking about buying Ascension. And McAllister gives this disgusting smile, and Maris is like, oh my God, he knows, like, he's figured out, his plan. And so she, of course, when he leaves, she tells him, she's like, I did not tell him, I swear. And she doesn't think that Royce believes her, and he probably doesn't, but she's like, I didn't tell him. I did not tell him about it. And so something came up again with the company, so Royce and McAllister stayed, gone that whole night. And so she comes downstairs. It's after midnight. She comes downstairs. She wants something to eat, and Alice is in the kitchen. And Alice is making some tea, and so they're sitting there and they're talking, and she was just kind of telling her, she was leaving McAllister, and she says, I've had enough. I know everyone thinks I have like a drinking problem, but that's what they concocted when I left him over a year and a half ago. It was said that I had an issue with alcohol. And she's like, but I came back because it's better for me to be unhappy here than to be unhappy somewhere else. And she was like, wow, like that's messed up, And so then she asked her about Vance, and she was like, I mean, I'm not proud of it. She was like, but it was it helped me not be as unhappy. And that's why her and Vance started. She's like, plus you see how he treats his sons. Like, they of course want to get back at him. So they both have their reasons for entering into that affair. And so she was like, I understand a part of him died when Julia did, which was his first wife. And she's like, I know it's not like me and Vance are in love with each other and that it's going somewhere. So him being with the Jillian girl, she could care less. She's like, it is what it is. But she's like, but I just can't be here anymore. especially when no one wants me. So she gives Alice